I've been to see the man. I've seen John Cena. I have seen Cena. All right, this article came out in the Baltimore Banner earlier this week about how fans are being priced out of tickets to see the WWE and more specifically, John Cena. The fans are being priced out of John Cena's last match. And this provides me with the perfect context for this video because I have seen John Cena live 5 times since 2005. I'll run through those at the end of this video. But I consider myself lucky because this article has some excellent reporting telling the stories of several fans, family members who are feeling priced out. And it really humanizes the effects of the big business that WWE has become in the last couple years. You get to read about families that can't even afford the accessible seating that they once did for a kid that maybe is in a wheelchair or has mobility issues. And the father, and there's also a story of a father that splurges because due to health issues, he may never get to go see WWE with his daughter ever again. And these are the kind of decisions that families are having to make right now. And it's heartbreaking to me and unavoidable, I guess, an unavoidable consequence to these new prices that affect the lesser fortunate of the two variables. WWE is going to be fine. John Cena is going to be fine. But again, as a kid who went to see WCW at a live event, they were called house shows. As a 10-year-old, my life was changed by that. I don't know if I would be as big a wrestling fan if I hadn't gone to that. And say what you want, but old Vince Jr., man, he kept the prices where families, in theory, could go. And when you go to look, tickets were like $240 to $500 for a chance to say your final goodbye to the wrestling hero John Cena. And, in any economy, that's a lot of money. And I wanted to shout out the reporters, Kristen Griffith and Tremont Lucas from the Baltimore Banner, who told this story excellently. And you should read their work. I'll put the link in the description of this video. It's the hardest things to come to terms with as a wrestling fan this year is the lack of house shows, the ending of the live events, and there won't be as many opportunities for young wrestling fans, especially those of us in the flyover states, like here in West Virginia. They may never see their favorite wrestlers live the way I did, like I said, when I was 10 years old. And the only way this changes is if wrestling takes a downturn creatively. Some people think it's happening, but that doesn't seem too likely to affect sales, at least not immediately. And if that ever does happen and the prices come down, is anybody even going to want to go then? None of us are going to be flying to Saudi Arabia for WrestleMania. At least I'm not. And good luck to anybody who is. And we'll see. But I consider myself lucky. I've been to see the man. I've seen John Cena. I have seen Cena 5 times in my life as a wrestling fan. And I'm going to run through them real quick. The first one was very interesting because in 2005, a friend of mine drove to Roanoke, Virginia for Smackdown number 240. This was in March 2005. Cena was on his way to his first world title win. He had been U.S. champion. He had lost it to Orlando Jordan. And that's actually how the show opened. JBL and his cabinet threw the spinner U.S. championship into the trash can, and I remember, boom, this huge explosion. It was loud, and it was huge, and it even looks cool on television when I went back and watched it. And they were on the way, building Cena into the star that he was destined to become. They were really building him with that, and I went back and looked around that time. He beat Orlando Jordan, Booker T, and then Kurt Angle to become the #1 contender for JBL. And they had a couple of really excellent matches. I went back to watch the WrestleMania 21 match with JBL, and it really holds up. Very strong match. And then they famously had an I Quit match after that, too, that is quite good. And I think that's been making its way around on the WWE YouTube. 9 years later, it was September of 2014 in Nashville when I went to the Night of Champions pay-per-view. That was the second time I saw him. And he was a 15-time champ by that time, and he was stepping in against Brock Lesnar, who had returned, had a total squash match at SummerSlam earlier that year. And in this one, John got some offense in. He even busted Lesnar up, got in a lot more offense than the SummerSlam match. He still got suplexed to death. But he ended up winning by DQ because Seth Rollins interfered, attempted to cash in the Money in the Bank, and Cena foiled that and ran him off. Cena ended up with an F5 at the end of the match afterwards, post-match, and Lesnar retained. And of course, that feud would roll on and continues basically to this day in a way. He was the 15-time champ there, 3 years away still from his number 16, the historic number 16th title reign. And it's funny to think number 17 was another 8 years after that. It took him 11 years to win those next 2 world championships. 3 more years later, the WWE brings their live events, what we all used to lovingly call house shows. A lot of us still call them house shows. The road to WrestleMania came in March of 2017. Cena had won his number 16th in January at the Royal Rumble in that famous match against AJ Styles, where they never left the ring. Then this night we got a totally different match. We got a street fight between Cena and AJ. And if I remember this right, Cena was out there singing Country Roads, as we was wont to do at a lot of these events. And AJ got ultimate heat by chairing him in the gut while he was singing and starting off the street fight. That's my memory of that. If that wasn't this match, it was another time when Cena got interrupted, but I remember that pretty vividly, him getting the gut shot while he was trying to sing Country Roads. Excellent way to get some heat here in Almost Heaven. That was an interesting night as well because we actually got to see one of very few WWE title defenses from Bray Wyatt. He had won it, pinned Cena in the Elimination Chamber, then pinned Cena's Royal Rumble opponent, AJ, to win his first WWE World title in the Elimination Chamber. And sadly, there's only a 49-day reign for Bray Wyatt. But I'm lucky. Once again, I got to see Bray Wyatt defend the WWE Championship against Luke Harper. And if there weren't for house shows, that wouldn't have been possible. And so I'm really thankful that they were bringing WWE through so often. And it was a few years later, January of 2019, WWE was back again. Another street fight this time for John Cena against Baron Corbin. And I remember going to that one, January of 2019, and thinking, like, this may be the last time I get to see Cena live. He's out on tour. And, thankfully it wasn't. But even that long ago, 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, 6 years ago, I was already thinking, like, I got to go see Cena now while we still can. I wasn't necessarily referring to him as the GOAT, but we knew it was a legendary time, and all the movies and all his Hollywood star is rising. So we knew he maybe wasn't going to be wasn't going to be appearing regularly in WWE much longer. But sure enough, the Summer of Cena rolled back around in 2021. Speaking of movies, he had like multiple movies out that summer, and he returned to WWE as a part of the promotional mechanisms for those movies. My buddy Steve Barker and I drove up to Cleveland for Smackdown on July 23rd. Cena was there to challenge Roman Reigns. He was challenging the Tribal Chief. This is a fun one to go back and watch because we're in the very early days of Roman and Heyman. And actually, Cena got interrupted by Paul Heyman this night, and it's wonderful to go back and watch because Heyman, says that Roman's not going to accept the challenge, and then he walks off going, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Heyman in top form. So cool to be able to see that. Cena didn't wrestle that night on television, but of course, in a dark match, he teamed up with Rey and Dominic Mysterio against the Usos and Roman Reigns in a 6-man dark match. And I even made one more final attempt earlier this year when Raw came to Cleveland as part of the Netflix era. It was the night after the Royal Rumble, and we kind of bought tickets thinking that there was a strong chance that Cena was going to win the Royal Rumble, even though he wasn't advertised. I mean, they wouldn't advertise that because it would be like, oh, well, he's obviously going to win. But as we know, it was Jey Uso who brought home that historic win at the Royal Rumble. And we didn't see John Cena that night. I got to say, it's been fun to watch John Cena evolve. I've gone through love and hate with John Cena. I've loved him. I've hated him. I've been tired of him. I've missed him. I've been excited to see him. And I've rolled my eyes at his returns. And I think that just says a lot about the career and the longevity of one John Cena. So that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. I'm going to go check out the rest of my life featuring John Cena. I started this last night. This came out in 2007, and this is not a great era for the creativity of WWE DVDs, but I knew Cena's last match coming up, and so I decided to pick this bad boy up. and try to relive some of his historic career. Check out this packaging. You should definitely pick this up, especially if you like listening to John Cena's dad talk. He's throughout this whole thing. I don't know if they even interviewed Cena for this. They interviewed his dad, all his college buddies. And we get a look at his car collection on here as well. I haven't got that far yet, but I wonder if Cena still has all his classic cars. That's it. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time. And come see us at the matches. Do, 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 do.
No way. Huge noise. Very well. Oh no! Oh! Where's the referee?